Hi. So far we've learned how to create variables with different data types. So let's just do a review. We said that we can create variables that can hold whole numbers, and we said from smallest to biggest. They are called byte, short, int, and long. Okay. So that bytes store up to about 127 plus or minus. Short can store up to about 32,000 plus or minus. Then we have about 2 billion, and beyond is a long. And then we said we have float and double. You need to always remember to put an F, lowercase and uppercase. We said the difference between them is digits of precision. So we have 7 digits of significant digits, 7 significant digits. And double has 15. And then we said we can store a single character, like A, for example, and we can store Boolean, which is true or false. Class equal to true. So those were the data types that we learned. Then we learned how to use them in arithmetic operations. We said, for example, I can add some numbers, so I can add A plus S and, get 209 printed, because a 10 plus 199 is 209. And we talked about order of operations. We talked about the increment decrement. So if I say A plus plus, what this does, it adds 1 to A. So now it becomes 11. We said it can be post or prefix. And then we talked about also the math class. So we want to raise A to the power 3. I will get 1,000. So if I take A is 10, power 3, I should get 1,000 back. So we talked about some of the methods in the math class, absolute value ABS, and then we talked about, oh, now it's, let's decrease it again. So we talked about ABS, absolute value, we talked about POW, and we talked about square root. And then we said if you want a variable, you want to create a variable and you don't want anyone to be able to change it, like say pi, I don't want anyone to be able to change it, I can put the word final. So this makes it a constant variable. So this is a very quick overview of what we've talked about so far. Now, notice that we've learned how to store different kinds of numbers, single characters, but we haven't learned how to store a string. Like if I want to store my name is not one character. How can I store my name? So there is another type that we can use to store names, and that is called a string. So a string can store a bunch of characters. And the way you create it is you say string, and then you give it a name, like I'll say my name, and then in double quotes, you put the name that you want. I can also have string, my favorite color is purple. Notice, I'm just going to put here the single char. Well, let's just look at it over here. Notice that when you're talking about a single character, you put single quotes around it. When we're talking about a string, which is a bunch of characters, we're going to use the double quotes. So that's the first thing we need to notice, that we use double quotes. And this is very doing variable. So remember, we said kind of like hard-coded literal. Here, string. This is a floating. Notice also that it's not a reserved word. Notice also my name dot. I just like with the math class. When I said math dot, I got methods. When I put a variable name that's a string and I say dot, I get methods. Now I'm going to do that with one of my variables. Let's say letter. If I say letter dot, I get nothing. If I try it with my pi variable, which is a double, I get nothing. So primitive data types do not have methods. You can't put a period after a primitive data type and expect to get something out of it. You can't. Primitive data types are just there to store information. But strings are actually classes. So there is a class that is written part of the Java API that's called string. And actually I can even have string dot and I will get some methods. We're not going to talk about that in Java 1. We're going to talk about that in Java 2. But string is a class. It's not a primitive data type. For us, what this means, just for our level right now, what this means is that if you have a string, you can call methods on it just like you can call methods on the math class. Well, what kind of methods would I want to call on a string? Well, there are 4 methods that I want you to learn and memorize. So the first thing is, if you have a string, so here I have code where I created a string X and it's storing the word Java in it, and I want to know how many characters are in this string. Well, if I say X dot, I will find a method called length and it will tell me how many characters there are in it. If I want to get X as lowercase or get it as uppercase, there is a method for that. So let's try these methods. So let's come here and let's try printing some stuff. So first I want to print the length of X, my name. So I'm going to say my name dot, and you see all the methods starting to come up. As you start writing letters, they get it narrows it down. To fill it in automatically, you can double click or you can press tab. So right now I'm going to press tab, and you see that it put in the word length for me. If I press tab a second time, it puts the parentheses in for me. I'm going to do that again with the rest of the methods that we're learning. So I'm going to say my name in all caps. My name, say dot, and it's to uppercase. So I see it here, so I'm just going to double click on it, and I'm going to do the same with lowercase. And the more you use these, you're going to memorize them more. And what I want to do now is I'm going to type my name again. My name again. To see what's going to happen. Is it going to change because I called to uppercase and to lowercase or not? So the first thing is I'm printing my name is, so it's getting printed. I'm asking it to print the length. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My name has 6 characters. So I got 6 in there. If I try printing my name in all caps, I get it. All lowercase, I get it. If I try printing it again, I get my original name. So one thing I want you to know about to uppercase and to lowercase, what they do is they give you back a string that is a representation of this variable string, but all uppercase. It doesn't change. So it's very important to know that to uppercase and to lowercase do not change the variable. They're not changing. They're giving you back a string representation. So these methods that I've been using, they're returning things. So instead of saying my name.length here, what I could also do is I could say int length equal to my name.length. And notice here, if I look at it, length, before it says int means it's going to give you back an integer value. So if you ask for the length, you're going to get a number. What kind of number are you going to get back? You're going to get back an int. So here, instead of printing it immediately, I could have gotten the length, and then here instead I could just say length. The same way with to uppercase and to lowercase. To uppercase and to lowercase, what they do is they give you back a string. So I can say my name dot. Notice here to uppercase, it says at the end string, or right before it says it's a string. So it's telling me that it's going to give me back a string. So I know that I need to create a variable that's a string to store this information in it. And so here I will just use that. And so I will get the same results back anyways. But you can use them directly in system.out, or you can use the methods, get some value out of it and store it in a variable. If you're calling .length, you're going to need to store it in an int. If you're calling to uppercase or to lowercase, well, you need to store it in a string. Sorry, length, you need to store it in an int. Now, there's only one more method that I want you to know, and that method is called char at. And what char at does, let's look at it, my name dot char at. It takes an integer as input and it returns a char. It's going to give you back a character. Well, what does that mean? So let's look at here the Java documentation. It says returns the char value at the specified index. An index ranges from 0 to the length minus 1. So what this is telling you is that if you have a string and you want to get a letter or a character out of this string, you can, given the index. So if I want a character from the string, I can give it the index, the location. Well, in programming, 0 is a number. You know, usually when we start counting, we say 1, 2, 3. In computer language, when we start counting, we count from 0. So if I want the first letter, the first character in a string, I need to say I need index 0 or location 0. Now this is giving me back a character. So I'm going to create a character called first, a variable that's a character called first. And I'm going to say it's equal to char at 0. And now if I try that character, I should get back the letter I, because that is the first letter in my name. Okay. Now, if I want another letter, let's say I want my name dot char at, and I want 3. Well, let's start counting. I is 0, B is 1, T is 2, S is 3. So I should get back the S because S is at location 3. So S is at location or index 3. Now what happens if I try giving it an index that's beyond the length? So for example, this string has 6 characters, and I try saying, give me what's at character 6. Well, because it's 6 characters, it means the last character is at index 5. So remember, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's why in the Java documentation, it said from 0 up to the length minus 1. So this is not valid. This is actually going to be invalid. Let's try it and see how it breaks. And it breaks. Anytime you see this red code getting printed, you know something happened. And here it tells you exception. It tells us that an exception happened, something bad happened. And it tells you more information, which we're going to try to read every time you get one of these to try to understand. But it says string index out of bound exception. It's telling us the string index is out of range. You asked for string index 6, but it's out of the range because this string only goes from 0 to 5. So here something bad happened. I got an exception. And the code will never continue after this. I'm going to comment out this line so that when we write more code, it'll run. So those are the methods that I want you to memorize on strings. So there are 4 methods: dot length, to uppercase, to lowercase, and char at. Okay, and in the next video, we'll finish the rest of the class content.